I say let's get rolling. Our time's valuable. And I think there's some others that have jumped in or that have asked to join. And so I'll keep watching the chat box. And I know that Lori's got a little one on her lap, but not very happy at the moment. So she might be coming and going a little bit. Hey, I welcome everybody. How's everybody doing?
Doing good. It's a busy Tuesday, you know.
Yeah. Dusty gave the appropriate owner, director, all tasking.
Hanging in there, still kicking, which is a blessing. Wasn't sure I was gonna be there for a minute, so.
Yeah. How are you guys handling and managing the expansion?
I feel like every time I focus my attention in one place, something goes wrong somewhere else, and there's not enough of me to go around. But and then we ended up having COVID go through the buildings, and so that was also really a challenge. It was unfortunate, but we're back up and running and good now. So fingers crossed, we'll just upward climb.
Yeah, you had COVID go through the new center.
Both, actually. We had one teacher who was moving from one center to the other center, and she brought it with her before we realized what was happening. And so it actually hit both centers at the same time.
Got it. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to jump on two things. So I just spent about 45 minutes this last week on the phone with someone from Mesa County that like the COVID response team, and I learned a few things because I really wanted to. I had some questions, parent, COVID, kids, not, and so here's a couple things that I learned, and maybe we could all touch base on this to make sure we're not over quarantining and so on and so forth. So here's one change. So the 14-day, that's gone completely. That's not even in the vocabulary, right? So the 14, regardless, because I still had signs hanging in my office which were the original 7 and 10-day signs, and that was all without symptoms. And so hopefully everybody has the new one that I got from the county, but I had to ask for that. But I might have missed it in an email. I didn't see it go out. But the 14 days is gone. 10 days is a maximum with or without symptoms. If you read the flyer, right? The other thing that I realized is completely gone was the 2 days prior to symptoms, right? So if Becky is in your classroom on Monday and on Wednesday starts symptoms and then gets tested and Friday, what have you, finds out positive, you don't quarantine contact people from Monday, Tuesday. Is everybody on board with that? Because originally it was you had to go 2 days before symptoms, and I had to quarantine all my kiddos that came on Monday, Tuesday if they weren't in contact on Wednesday. But now in that scenario, it's only the day of first symptoms.
So for us, they still made us go the 2 days back.
Okay, so that's why we should talk about this, because the conversation I had, and maybe Heather will jump in here hopefully, but the conversation I had was, I said, but last year, even in the spring, which may be my last quarantine time, we had to go back 2 days prior to symptoms. And she says, nope, we're not going 2 days prior to symptoms anymore, because what we're learning is that the spread occurs when children cough, when they are at high risk with the fever, when they have a runny nose, that's when they spread. So Dusty, I think we should maybe find some more clarity on that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Because that's a big deal.
It was huge. It was everybody. It was a big deal. So yeah, that clarification, if that is no longer the case, that would probably be a really big benefit to
Yeah.
everybody, because, you know, we're doing the symptom check at the door. So if they're coughing, they're not coming in. But if they are not symptomatic and then we have to go back 2 days, then it's like, we can't even prevent it from happening. And that's, you know, really frustrating for everybody, staff, parents, you know, everybody else,
Right.
because, you know, they weren't showing the symptoms, and it just, anybody they came into contact with. So yeah, I would love some more clarification on that.
Yeah. And were you able to focus on the 6 and 15? And you're in contact with?
6 and 15.
Well, yeah, six feet for 15 minutes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That we did do.
Yeah.
But the 15 minutes was over a full 24-hour period.
Correct. Yeah. Cumulative, right?
Yeah.
So as we have more people come on, maybe we'll have someone from the health department or what have you, and we'll come back to that 2 days prior.
So I just had a quarantine and mine went 2 days prior. I had it 2 weeks ago.
I
had
have
it 2 days
notes.
prior to,
I have notes and I have the lady's name that I talked to, but you were just directed to go 2 days prior.
yes,
Okay.
Heather directed me. My quarantine was 2 weeks ago. It ended October 8th, so last Friday. I did a quarantine 2 days prior. If they got tested and were negative, they could come back after the 6th day. If they did not get tested, they couldn't come back till the 8th, which was the full, what was it, 12 days, 14 days, whatever it was.
I'm a little confused. You said if they were tested, they could come back after the 6th day. And I
Yes.
believe testing on day 6, quarantine through day 7, you come back on day 8. Is that not, as you understand it?
Mine was quarantined as of the 27th. I had some clients, based on how they came into contact, they could test as early as the 30th. I had other clients that could test as early as the 3rd. The ones that could test the 30th could return to school on the 3rd if they were negative. The ones that tested on the 3rd could return to school the 5th. So I don't get, and I'll show you, I have a spreadsheet showing all the dates of return. It made no sense to me at all. If you did not test.
My problem is I'm looking at a 2020 school calendar. The dates are not working for me. Time to get rid of that one. Okay.
I had if you did not test for COVID, which I only had one parent that did not want to test their child, just monitored for symptoms, they could not return to school until the 8th. So they were exposed the 27th of September and they were out till the 8th. So what is that, 12 days? So
yeah, you got a couple of weekends in there, do you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was one weekend, the weekend of the second, third, I think. Yeah, the dates made no sense to me.
Yeah.
So I'm all for hearing who you talked to, but I just did this the 27th of September.
Kirk, I was on the same page as you were. They were quarantined until they could test on the 6th or after, and if they tested negative, then they could come back on the 8th day. Otherwise, they would have to do the full 10 days out. Because otherwise they said they would have tested too early. So I had people going back and forth. And then we ran into, we had several that tested positive after that.
Stephanie, can you mute? Stephanie, can you mute? Thanks.
Which then extended other people's quarantine time. Like if they tested positive, then the kids couldn't come back for, so it's been, we still have, ours was, we reopened on Monday the 4th, and we still now have kids that are still out because of it from that long ago, because they had a parent test positive or a sibling test positive, and so then they're 10 more days out, and it's been a nightmare. Yeah,
I'm sorry, everybody's still fighting that fight. I think it's very, I think we can be very clear on 2 dates, 7 and 10. That's still in play. So they're exposed. The next day that's ground zero. The next day is day one with a test that's negative. With the test, they can test on day 6. They have to stay out through day 7, come back on day 8. If they don't want to test, they're out through day 10. They can come back on day 11. I think that's crystal clear with everyone. I think the only thing is a little bit of conflicting information that I received, and only myself, and this was in a hypothetical even, that about the 2 days prior to contact. So I think that's important that we find out a little bit more clarity on that. So I'll make sure if we don't resolve that here today in the meeting, that I'll put something on our Mason County Child Care Provider group in Facebook, or have somebody else post that on there. And we'll try to get a link to that new flyer that's out, because again, I was still hanging with old flyers that talked about 7 and 10 with no symptoms. So, all right. Any other COVID questions or COVID scenarios that might be beneficial to jump into? Do we have anybody in that had any topics they wanted to dive into? I've got some stuff on the agenda. It was a little bit from last month because we had a small group. We ran into some great topics and great conversations. So I was going to circle back on some of those, but yeah, does anyone have any topics that they wanted to dive into today?
I wanted to ask, sorry, trying not to get the glare. I wanted to ask what everybody's doing about hand, foot, and mouth.
Okay.
Doctor, we're getting different responses from doctors and that it's hitting us pretty hard. I did talk to epidemiology and they're saying that kids only get excluded if they are drooling profusely or have open mouth sores. Somebody from Head Start even contacted me asking if in childcare we were allowed to close down rooms because of it. So I just wondered how everybody else is handling it.
Got it. So the health department has a specific guidance, which actually that just comes from the state, I believe, right? Does someone have quick access to the hand, foot, and mouth protocol? Should come from state health department. I don't know that Mesa County has anything different than that. Well, what I can recall is, I can recall kind of what you said, Lori, which was open sores in the mouth would need to heal, right? Was that your understanding, is that they would need to heal fully or to go to that next scabbing type process? But this is from memory, so I'm not a great resource on this right now.
I talked to Jeremy, the epidemiologist for the county, and yeah, he said that if it's Josie, please, if it's drooling that cannot be kept up with at school, or the open sores in the mouth, then they need to heal. But it's just like pink eye is what the epidemiologist says. We don't send kids home anymore for it because by the time the symptoms show up, anybody around them's been exposed.
Anybody around them is gonna
will have been exposed to it, not necessarily get it, but be exposed to it. And with hand, foot, and mouth, the frustrating thing is that mucus, saliva, all that can carry it for 3 weeks, and feces can carry it up for several months.
Got it. Okay. I mean, our last bout of hand, foot, mouth, it's been a while. I think it was last school year, or might have been the beginning of this one. No, foggy. But in Todd's, it clears a classroom, right? I mean, it's pretty prevalent, pretty regular for it just to clear that classroom and run through almost everybody. So drooling, open mouth sores, got it. Anyone else have anything to throw in there?
So for us, the one that is kind of similar, as you had said, was pink eye. And so we just developed a policy because like during my time, it's been, if they have pink eye, they can't attend. If then it changed to like, as long as they have a single dose, they can attend. And then it's like, well, they're not really that sick, so they don't have to be excluded. And so the guidance that I've received is just to make sure like that we have a policy in our handbook, and we can follow that policy regardless of like this, how the state changes. So like, as long as we're following our policies and procedures, we do exclude for pink eye. And they have to be, have been on treatment for 24 hours, even though the state has said previously that they don't have to be excluded. So as long as you like list hand, foot, and mouth in your illness policy, that they would need to be excluded until sores were scabbed over or 24 hours symptom free, or however you word that, you should be covered, is my understanding.
I would go along with that. I think it's important that we have our own policies as well. And as you probably do as well, Dusty, I try to follow I always default to the state policy or the Mesa County. If I don't see one there, then I go to the school district, possibly. I'm talking kind of policies in general. And with pink eye, I feel like there's like, it's not an exclusion in the schools, but a first grader can keep their hands consciously out of their eyes. If we're talking TODS, which is where we see it so much, it's just not a possibility. So if we have kids going to the eyes, then they certainly need to be excluded. But I'm with you on the 24, and then I kind of consider the age. We've certainly had maybe 4-year-olds with pink eye. It's been maybe a minute, but if they're feeling well and have been treated, like you said, kind of for that 24 hours, then inclusion seems to be pretty successful. So, all right. Anything else? Any topics? These are all good ones, and they're relevant because we're all dealing with them right now. Miss Judy, what say you? How about an introduction for anybody?
Hi guys. Sorry, I
Sorry.
was a little late. I was on a call with another client, but hi, I'm Judy Sechrist, and I'm I don't know if I've ever met Dusty. I think I may have talked to you a little bit, but I am the Mesa County Workforce Coordinator in early childhood. So I'm here to support you guys in any way but whatever you need, let me know. We're here to help you guys.
So what kinds of projects and focuses do you have, Judy?
Well, right now we have, if anybody needs their first aid training, we have that coming up in November. It's a 2-day training. The November 9th is it's a virtual 1 to 5 time. And then on the 10th is the in-person skills test here at Mesa County at the Workforce Center. We're also creating a director's certificate. We're working Mesa County Workforce, the PCF, and CNCC are combining together to have at no cost to anybody. We cover the tuition, the fees, and the books for 1-year certificate. They have classes in the spring, summer, and fall. And that's all covered. So far, we have 21 participants already signed up for that and more. So if you know of anybody that's interested in that. And then, of course, money's funneling in, and we'll have a lot more coming up in the months to come.
Oh, that's great. Well, I had hiring challenges and strategies for finding good ECTs. So let's jump in there since Judy, you're a great resource for that as well. So
yes.
So I guess let me just kind of dive into this topic. And I have this conversation. I've had this conversation with someone in this meeting, and I know that our directors network meeting participation seems to have continues to shrink a little bit. However, the after live watches on Facebook, I think the editing and all of that is so pretty efficient and going good right now that a lot of people are catching this outside of this. So we're obviously speaking to a little bit bigger audience than just our small handful that's here. But I spoke with someone that's on this call today. And I said, hey, I've got someone that I'm interested in bringing on, but they really want full-time and I don't have full-time, but I'd love to sub them. I'd love to have them float. And I think if maybe we partnered together that, you know, she could sub in my classroom, she could sub in yours, and I don't want to let this one slip through my fingers, right? We've all had those maybe. And the response was, sure, yeah, let me interview her. So obviously we would both interview. That maybe is a good way to think outside the box when it comes to beefing up your sub pool. But I can tell you from my experience, the minute I think I'm fully staffed and I don't need to hire, that I don't need to have my fishing pool out in the pond looking for potential great ECT swimming by, I'm wrong. And so I always want to keep something out there, free advertising, something, so that I have the potential of someone walking in my door or picking up the phone and calling in. So advertising, and maybe we all don't want to give our secret spots we advertise in, but I'll tell you mine at least. And if you have a good one, throw it out there as well, because it kind of starts with that too, right? So Indeed, I get a lot of good, I hire some good people from Indeed. It's a big pond. We're kind of a small geographic, you know, sub pond of Indeed, but I feel like there's a lot of good professionals out there on Indeed. That's a positive. The downfall is it's expensive. I spend a lot of money, I feel like, on my Indeed ads, and sometimes I'll spend $150 and get like 3 applicants. That's a little bit odd, but it does happen. So it's expensive. Make sure you've got an ad on the Mason County Workforce Center Connecting Colorado, right? And so I wish they would let us reset our password electronically, but that's one of my only beefs with Connecting Colorado is if you don't get in for a while, you always have to reset your password, I feel like, but maybe Judy's got a response to that or a solution. But make sure you've got an ad there going and mix it up. Don't put in on all of these, don't always just renew your ad. Grab an old one, use it as a template to rebuild it so it goes to the top of the list. That's pretty common on a lot of different employment sites. Craigslist, there's Craigslist advertising for employment. So make sure you find that. Facebook, there's Grand Junction job opportunities. There's Western Slope job opportunities, I think. And I think there's another one, but look for groups in Grand Junction, Mesa County, Western Slope for jobs, Facebook, because it's free. Craigslist is not free. I paid $20 for my last listing on Craigslist, but I think I got 2 or 3 applicants, and I'm not sure if one of them was one of them I hired. So we said Indeed, Workforce Connecting Colorado, which is through the Workforce Center, Facebook, Craigslist, your families. So create an ad through your company's Facebook page. Okay, so hopefully your center has their own Facebook page, and then go to like more and find 3 dots and hit more and hit jobs and create an ad there, and find some clip art and what have you. You can do just a written ad with a couple images, and then share that out to your parents, share that out to all of the people you know. And, you know, let your parents know that, you know, some people are like, oh, I don't want to let, I remember a center, should I say their name? They haven't been around for a long time and they retired, but they would never advertise. I'll give you a hint. I hired their director. She worked for them for 15 years, but she said we would never advertise because our employer didn't want anybody to know that we were having a trouble with hiring teachers or trouble keeping our classrooms staffed. I would go outside and I would ask everybody, especially in this hiring climate. I've got to think back if I got referrals. This didn't work, but I thought it was a good idea. I offered my staff $100 bonus, recruiting bonus, if they gave me a referral for an ECT that I hired. So after 3 months, so Dusty, if you were with me and you said, oh, Jocelyn used to work in preschool, she's a teacher, maybe she wants to work for us. You reach out to Jocelyn, she comes in, I hire her, she's on for 3 months, I pay $100 recruiting bonus. So I think I just have to remind my staff that, hey, if you have anybody, keep thinking, because so have your staff go try to recruit. As owners, I'll speak for myself, and is I don't reach out to any other preschool teachers in the area if they're working for someone else. If they apply, of course, I'm going to respond. If my staff apply to Little Peaches or somewhere else, I would hope you would give them an opportunity to look at employment. But from my teachers, if they want to reach out to people they know, people they've worked with, that's a little bit different. So recruiting bonus. What else? All right. Does anybody else have any hiring, advertising locations they'd like to share? As I think about maybe one I've missed. Oh, also make sure you've got an internship opportunity with the Workforce Center. Okay. So for paid adult internships, if you need more guidance on that, reach out to Judy. I'm sure she can help you. So maybe you need help in the kitchen. Put in an ad for a cook intern. Okay. I actually had a preschool teacher that worked for me for years. She was a lead teacher. She left for like 6 years, came back, and we needed a cook. And she's like, I'll try. And I'm like, well, I've got an internship opportunity for a cook at the Workforce Center. I was able to hire her back to work in my kitchen. She was a lead teacher, and the first 3 months of her time with me was paid for. But that allowed me to give her more additional training and have her do some work outside the kitchen and all kinds of research. Also, yeah, all kinds of training and stuff like that. And I was able to put an extra staff with her a bunch of the time to help her. And she absolutely loved it. She was a great cook. She's an art teacher and crazy creative. So you can imagine what came out of the kitchen. So, so you could put in an internship for an aide or for an early childhood teacher. You could put an internship for an administrative assistant. Think about that one. All right. So speaking of administrative assistant, kind of on one of my next ones is, are you growing an administrative assistant in your program right now? Are you growing one? My guess is you are, but you may not know it. So I was growing one and I didn't know it. So make sure when you're talking to your staff about how they're doing and their personal professional development plan, you know what they're wanting. So I had a staff member that applied with the district. Now I've lost 7 lead teachers in the last 3 months to the school district. 7. Ouch is what I said too. That was horrifically painful. They would call on referrals and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And they go, Kirk, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry I'm calling you. I go, yeah, you are and you're not. Because you know we breed good teachers and you're taking them all. So I finally put the district on a do not call list, and I'll drop that in the comments below on how you do that. No, I'm kidding you. But I think a serious note, kind of serious, I'm going to tell them, you can ask me when I hired them and how much they paid and if they'd be eligible for rehire, and I might lie. I hate losing them, but I also don't want to halt the growth of a teacher if that's where they want to be. Okay, sorry, I'm rambling. I had a teacher that applied for a receptionist job at Fruita Monument High School, and she got passed over. She applied again, got passed over again because she didn't have experience. And she was doing great with me for 4 months, not a lead teacher, but she had great personal skills, great communication skills. She was helping to organize the classroom. And she was my closing supervisor. She was just so good. And I'm like, okay.
Baker, just wanted to let you know.
She said, I go, you know what? Would you be interested in an administrative assistant position? And she says, well, what are you talking about? And so I didn't realize I had that little diamond in the rough. So I transitioned over. She's like in week 3 right now. And she's the reason I'm able to be in my home office doing this, because she's really getting it. and she's doing good and she came out of that classroom. So make sure you're talking to your staff on what they're wanting, where they're wanting to go, and then find and create an opportunity in your center, if you can, for them to land. And maybe she'll be with me for a year, maybe 2 years. Okay. As long as she's a quick learner, I'm in. You got to be a quick learner though. I don't want to spend a year grooming somebody to take over a major role for them to leave. Okay. So how do you train somebody in that role? Guys, I'm just going to keep going because I'm kind of on one right now. Screen recording. Make sure you have screen recording software. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about, I use Camtasia. And I spend $250 a year for a yearly subscription. I can install that software on 2 desktop or 2 computers. So I have one at my home office. I have one at my Fruita Center, but there's free software. Look up free screen recording software and look up TechSmith. Because I have assistants, my gals in the Philippines, they all use that and it's free. The key is you want software that you can pause. And some of them won't allow you to pause your recording. So for example, today, every day when I'm at the center and I'm just doing general administrative stuff, you know, I'm checking email and then I'm handling this parent, a drop-in tuition, then I'm handling a phone call and I'm checking the wait list. I open up that screen recording and I have it set on my computer screen. And when I'm doing some work, I hit record and it records all the work I'm doing. And I've got a playlist right now of like 7 30-minute administrative task recordings. So 7, that's 3.5 hours of training, just general administrative stuff. And so now I can take my new gal that come out of the classroom and say, sit down, watch this. If the phone rings, answer the phone. And I mean, the amount of just, you know, in all different areas of generally running our business, I've captured that for them. It didn't cost me anything. It didn't take any extra time. I had to do the general work, right? So it's kind of like you can give them like, here's your job duties and read this, and this will tell you how to run our preschool. That book doesn't exist, right? But having you just explaining what you're doing. Okay, this is a parent calling about this. This is, this is Judy. She's asking if we have any hiring needs. So maybe I could reach out to her and get an ad on the Workforce Center, whatever it might be. So screen recording. If you have more questions about that, reach out. But you're just recording whatever you're working on your computer with audio. You can buy a mic for $15 on Amazon, and that's all you need. You don't have to be, they can't see you. They can only see your desktop. And you're only going to use this for like your staff that have cleared backgrounds, that are working in your classroom, for example, for future administrators. So you don't have to worry about privacy or, oh, there's a birthday there, or there's this or that. So I'm telling you, to replace, Dusty, you said you get into work and every time you turn around, there's something else that's reaching for you and you just don't have time because you need 3 of you. But we all know that we can't afford 3 of you. I couldn't afford 3 of you. But what I could do is I could record you for a day and have someone at, you know, $13 or $14 or $15 an hour that could do a quarter of you. And now you've got 3 more hours in your day that you didn't have before. So screen recording. Okay, let me stop for a second. Does anybody have anything they want to throw in, or does anybody need to yell at me for anything? So I really believe you just got to keep hiring. I know there's a cost to hiring, but there's also a cost to needing to be 3 places at once. There just is. And today when at noon, my cook comes out and she goes, the pot pie's not done. The pot pie's not done. And it's noon. It's like 12:04 and I'm going, there's 3 classrooms left to feed, 65 kids. She's like, what do we do? I go, pivot. What can you make? She's like, let's make sun butter and jelly sandwiches. And I got carrots and I got this and I got that. And I'm like, okay, what do you need? And my admin assistant was already helping in the classroom. I jumped in. I'm like, give me a job. She's like, well, I'm going to toast the bread. No, give me a job. Toast the bread. Got it. I toasted the bread and I spreaded the peanut butter. But I also had my admin assistant that was in the classroom subbing because we had a staff member that was really struggling today, walked into the classroom, started crying. What do you have? What's going on? My uncle died and this happened. I'm like, just go into the classroom. And that's the beauty of having an admin assistant, someone that's committed to going into that classroom and helping you and taking the heat off you. Because Dusty, if you walk into a classroom and someone's crying because uncle died last night and something else, you're going to go home, honey, go home. I got you. But that admin assistant at $15 an hour saved my tail because I didn't have to do that. And I was able to spread the sun butter and toast the bread. Okay. Develop your sub pool. You got to keep hiring. And I just clarify if people are needing full or part-time. There's so many people that will work part-time with an opportunity to work full-time. And that's where you groom them. We can only have so many aides that are subbing, right? Ultimately, we need an ECT to sub so that they can be filling in those key positions. And that's harder, but still, hire some dynamic aides, get them into these CDA programs and let them float. Because the minute I say you probably, I'm sure you'll have 10 to 15 hours. Now they're working 40 hours a week. And that was took a week and a half. But develop your own sub pool so your staff have someone to call, so you have someone to go to. And I tell you, I just groomed and hired 2 administrative assistants, the one I talked about. And then the other one is Mr. David, who's been with me for 7 years. He was 3.5 in the classroom. He left, and then he circled back around after 2 years with Ariel and doing some other things. And he is just killing it. He's doing great. But have someone that is passionate about working in the classroom. Okay, I'm gonna throw this tip. If you have an assistant and they're reluctant to go in the classroom, get rid of them. Mean it. You have one. Somebody out there has one, and they're reluctant. They look for excuses. It's not going to work out. I know you love them. I know you're like, oh, but they do this and that for me. If they don't want to work in their classroom, they're not passionate about your teachers, and they're not passionate about what your teachers are doing. I've learned this, and I know some of you have gone through this before, but I tried twice to hire administrative direct assistants who had lots of qualifications, but they didn't come from the classroom. And they didn't come from my classroom, and they just were not. They were nice. They were good people. I mean, big hearts, love them. So make sure your people that are working in the office are like, I'll go. Yep, I'll go. It's me. Okay. You want me to go? That I really believe that's what you need. So if you have someone that's not of that drive, it's going to be tough. All right, so working interview. And maybe Judy, maybe you might chime in on this from a logistics standpoint. And I've had this conversation with Stephanie. We've had this, not Miss Bivens, but from We Care a Lot, and about working interviews. I keep hiring people and I go, before we tie the knot, we want you to come in and do a working interview. So I'll do an interview with them, a little bit on the phone, pre-qualified, maybe in person, and then a working interview. Unless I have a great phone interview, then I'll just throw them into a working interview. I let them know it's just an extension of this interview. It's an opportunity for you to try us on and us to try you on. And I still have teachers that go, oh, I've never done a working interview. And they've applied at 3 other schools here. Ladies, I don't know why you're not doing a working interview. It is such a great opportunity for you to literally try them on. And you put them in the classroom that you trust your teacher's judgment. And, because if you want your teachers buy-in, this is a great way to do it. It's a great way for your teachers to have buy-in on who you're going to hire. And so I go, hey, Dusty, I've got a working interview for you tomorrow. You got to tell me, would you work with this gal? Would you work with this guy? How does he make you feel? How does he talk? How is he with the kids? How does she do give her some tasks? Ask her if she'll read a story to your kids. I mean, we had one the other day that came in, and it wasn't 10 minutes later. And I tell them, it's like, hey, it's like your first day. Pretend this is your first day. play with the kids, interact, get to know their names, ask, what can I do? And we give them a video that it's like 18 or 15 minutes. It prepares them for their working interview. Maybe it's 5. It's in the chat. I dropped the working interview. It's a YouTube video, so you can watch it. You can use mine. It's on my Childcare Biz Consulting YouTube channel for the purpose of people using it. So you can use mine if you like, or make your own. And I can help with that. I'll help you get it all edited. Whatever you need. So yeah, I mean, within 3 minutes, she was literally running circle time. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Fantastic. It just gives them an opportunity to either shine and show them who they're about, or to help both of you realize this probably isn't the path for them. So working interview. Okay, I'm going to talk about staff scheduling next. Does anybody have anything before I go there? Wait, before I do. Question. How far out are you scheduled? How far out do you have your staff scheduled? Dusty? Stephanie? Tanya? Anyone? 1 week? 1 year? 1 month?
I'm like, ours is scheduled out unless something changes. It doesn't change week to week or month to month unless we lose staff or add staff.
So how far right now are you comfortably scheduled out?
Well, if everything stays the same, we're scheduled out forever.
So how far out can your staff see the schedule? Like, can they see the week of Thanksgiving?
Yeah, because it just stays the same. I mean, we don't print one out every single week or anything. They'll know that this is their schedule.
Does nobody have Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday off of Thanksgiving week?
I don't know. Like our school's not closed. We're closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
You're closed. Okay. Okay. So Monday, Tuesday, does any of your staff have those days scheduled off?
I'd have to look. I don't know. Staff, do
Okay.
they? I mean, we have an app, so it's on the app and we look.
On Crew. Yeah, you guys use Crew. So you have it plugged into Crew if they were off on Monday.
Correct. Yeah. Up until, yes.
And you've already got that position filled with somebody.
Sure. Yeah. I mean.
Right. Okay. All right. Dusty, what were you going to say?
Sorry, there was a phone call. So no, we have no organization on that, like, at all. We kind of do the same thing. We don't do like a weekly one. We just are trying to plug in all the spaces, and right now we're having issues with like staffing and stuff, so it's changing all the time. Yep. And I mean, right now I have sticky notes, or the girls have a lovely whiteboard that they record when people are requesting time off, and that's what our director looks at to keep track of it. So we're completely, I even use the staff schedule from that we got from you to plug in there and that kind of thing. And yeah, we are having struggles with that for sure.
We can all feel your pain, 100%. Thank you for being vulnerable and saying that. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so literally 3 weeks ago, I was week to week. And yeah, I have 80% of my staff, their schedules don't change. But 90% of those staff still request days off. They still have family and time off. And so I need to make a plan for that. So it's great when 80% of your staff, their schedules don't change. But, 6 weeks ago, I was right where Dusty was from a who's going to work where perspective, I feel like, and going, I was literally week to week. I'm like, it depends on who we hire this week on making next week's schedule. So, all right, with that being said, now I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can you all see this schedule here? Can you see Donald Duck? Can you see Donald Daisy, okay. So this is kind of a template that that you can use right away. And it's been a while since we built this, but and I've got a little improvement on it, but really this is the core of my staff schedule. And Dusty, what I heard you say is we use it, but I think you're saying we use it from an administrative standpoint, but the staff can't see it. So your staff should be able to see this right on their phone. They can see it right on their phone. And I'm going to move it just a little bit. Okay. Can you see week 1 down here? So we're going to, and here's the thing. All you have to do is request this for me if it's not already shared with you. Okay. I'll share it with you as an editable. Yeah, this isn't shared with any of you right here, but you might have a previous one. Here's what we do. I make a copy of this for you. Okay. And I put I do that ever since Miss Daisy with my licensing. Okay, so now I retitled this as Dusty's staff schedule. Now, Dusty, this is all yours. I'm going to share it with you right now. You're going to give everybody your email address, which is what? Little Blossoms or?
tinyblooms123@gmail.com.
123@gmail. Okay. And I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to leave you as an editor here. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Can you see me sharing this with you? Great. Okay, so I've just shared this with you. And now we're going to stop pretending like this is fictitious, because next Monday is my birthday, October 18th. All right. And so this is going to be the week for October 18th. And up here, you can double click and you can just go and grab October 18th. And it changes all the dates up here. So everybody knows your dates are correct. And you don't have Mickey Mouse, you have Mickey Moose that works in the toddler. So you can change their names and then you can begin building their schedule. There's little legends down here. So official schedule. So right now, let's say this is just very tentative. Okay. It lets your staff know that it's not totally set in stone. So you can start building their schedule. C for us refers to our closing supervisor. L if they're taking a lunch, or P if it's planning time. And I promise, this is on my to-do list. I'm going to do some in-depth how to use this tool, because there's so much you can do here. Let's say SpongeBob wants Friday off, and I'm like, I don't know who I'm going to cover it for. I'm just going to yellow that right now because I know I need to find coverage, and maybe I'll throw it down here, and maybe I'll be brave and I'll say, okay, I'm going to give it to you off because you're getting married, big deal. Just kidding. And so I know I have to cover that shift. Okay, so I find somebody else that's available to cover it, and I know what I'm looking for there. And let's say those Post-it notes, Dusty, you can take them right now. You can go to next week and you just simply rename these, because this will be what, 10/25. Okay, and then this will be November, the next one. But you can go to that week and say, okay, Janice has requested that day off, and Snoopy's requested this Monday off. Okay. And I can go out 4 or 5 weeks and go, okay, Simba's requested this day off, and I can just paint them yellow right now. So I know that that's where I've got to fill my schedule. That's where my needs are. Now, if you're in a staffing crisis, you're not going to build your schedule out very far completely, but you go, okay, this is our best schedule right now. I'm going to duplicate this one and I'm going to call it my master. And so oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You can delete this. Yep. And you're just deleting that one tab. So this is going to be my master. And then you can play around on this. You can grab this and move it out to the side here. And of course, you're going to get rid of this because that's a day off. But my thought is that you want a schedule that your staff can see. Like Tanya was saying, that they use Crew, the app Crew. There's a red symbol on there. I use Voxer. for communication, but Crew has a scheduling feature, and I've never explored it. I would love to come down to Carolina and explore that with them to find out how they use it. I really like this. So all your staff have to do is download Google Sheets on their phone, on whatever kind of phone they have, and then they can see this. It looks like an Excel emblem. It's green, and it probably says Sheets on it, and it's free. And I put this schedule in a Google folder, and I share the folder with them so they can see this schedule, and they can open it up right on their phone. It's really easy to manipulate. And I've got a little bit of an advanced feature on here that's really nice. So they can scroll like this, and they can, there's all different cool things that it's a little bit more up to date than this one that I'll share with you. But my point is, they can look at their phone and they can click through the weeks, and they can see that, okay, we've got this Thursday yellowed, so I'm going to try to cover it, but it's not yet not yet covered. And you can show them anything you want. You can take your master and you can hide it. You can hide that one piece so they can't see your master at all. They can't see what you're working on. And then I got to figure out how to unhide sheets here. I'll just go undo, and there it comes back. Okay. And if it's a technology that's sometimes like, yeah, I'm not sure, I just want to go that whole Google thing. Here's the thing, give me your schedule. If you're on the call or you're not on the call and you're just watching this later, I dare you, I challenge you, give me your schedule. We'll put it into this format for you and share it only with you as the owner or director. I have an assistant that will do this for you. I won't grind it out. I'll let them do it, and I'll take a look at it, make sure it looks good. Mesa County helps me do that. Okay. So this is free. And then you say, I like it or I hate it. How terrible is that? And we'll knock it out a few weeks for you. Here's the thing. Let's say that you go, I don't want to get out 4 or 5 weeks because, we're in a staffing crisis. Fine. Let's get the next 2 weeks dialed in. And then when you're ready, cut and paste, Control C, and I go out to here and I go Control V, and we can duplicate that, 2 months out. At the beginning of October, I was comfortable with my staffing. I felt like everybody had kind of landed, and I knocked out our schedule all the way through the end of November. Yes, just like Tanya mentioned, my staff know what their schedule is going to be like in March. They do, but they don't know what their schedule is going to be or who they're working with on spring break, because people are going to take that time off, and she can put, other people to cover. The thing I like about this is it's just so easy to cut and paste. It's so easy to cut and paste, because if I need to cover Dennis on Tuesday and Wednesday, I copy that shift, I copy off, I put that in there, and this is going to be me. Oh my, I'm not sure how you spell me, oh my, but that's who's going to work Tuesday and Wednesday. And now Snoopy and SpongeBob know who they're working with ahead of time, and they can see it right on their app. It's so easy to use and manipulate. Probably the easiest thing that I've done. The master, you just, use these little things down here. Say it's just a template only. Again, you want to change the date. Okay, this could be my master for really the first big week in December. Sure. And it's done for you. So there's some hidden formulas in here that make it pretty nice. And then finally, here's a sub list. So as you hire people, you can put Tiny, you can put Tanya, and you can put Tammy in here as subs, and you can put their phone number and so forth. And let's say Tammy's who you want people to call first, just drag her to the top and then call Tanya because her availability is next. And then you can organize. So your staff are like, oh, okay. And then put their phone number in here, right? 555-1234, so that they have that at the touch of their finger. Or, we put their phone numbers, even though we use Voxer, or even if I was using Crew, I would still put their phone number because my staff know how to shut their notifications off on Voxer. And in the Crew app, they can actually make it. I like this feature of the Crew app. They can make it so they don't get notified after 6 and before 7 in the morning. They can set those parameters. I can't with Voxer, but that way people can call and text. You know, they can do the old school thing, like actually call someone and the phone rings, wait for them to pick up. But that phone number is helpful when it comes to covering shifts. Okay, schedule wise. Dusty, I'm gonna lean on you. Will you let me build one for you?
Sure.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would love to help you with that, because the staffing is such the biggest part of what we do, right? That's the hardest part of our job, is hiring, retaining, supporting, training, coordinating our staff. And I'm a firm believer that I love Post-it notes. But I've got like a 48-hour lifespan on a Post-it note. If it goes 48 hours, I need to either throw it away or resolve it, because otherwise, yeah. Okay, staffing. Who's got a good secret out there that they'd like to share? Something. You all have gems out there. We all have gems.
Bane of my existence right now.
Yeah, I would really encourage everybody to call on references and be open to receiving calls from each other. I certainly am. I've got staff that have left that I know that are good staff. And if you call me and they were great, I'll tell you they were great. I'd hire them back. But I could also save you some headaches. Stephanie would have saved me a huge headache had I called her a couple of years ago. And when I say huge headache, again, she would have saved me from going down a tough road with an individual, big heart, love the person dearly because they're an amazing individual. But the industry wasn't right for her. And I wish I'd have known that. So do reach out. If it's one of my staff that are working for me now, call. It's okay. It's okay. I'll tell you, I'll give you the scoop and skinny. Staffing, do working interviews, ladies. Anything else?
I think our biggest issue that we're having right now is finding people, like actually finding the people to do the interviews and that kind of thing is where we're struggling.
Got it. Like people are calling, but just don't have time to sit down and do interviews, or finding applicants.
Finding applicants. Yeah, we're just not having anybody apply. We get a lot of people who apply for like our assistant positions and that kind of thing, but finding leads right now is a really, really big struggle.
How many different sources are you advertising in right now?
We've done Facebook and Acquire for Hire.
So two
our big ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Judy, would you do me a favor? Would you reach out to Miss Dusty and give her a proposal for a paid internship and help her create two of them, one for an early childhood teacher, one for a teaching assistant. And then Dusty, you have two possibilities that the gals at the workforce center will try to fill for you. They'll try to fill for you. Okay, they will. Okay, because they want to get people from the community into your program learning our trade. Okay, but then the other thing, I'm going to knock this myth. I'm going to out of the ballpark. Stop thinking you have to hire the people they send you, and that, well, they didn't give me a good one 5 years ago, so I stopped doing that program. I've heard that a few times. That's hogwash. Then you go hire someone for that. Because let's say, Dusty, you get a gal and you're like, oh, zero experience. I like her personality. I just don't know. Okay. She's an aide. Okay. What you then do is you go, you know what I will do? Would you be okay with part-time? Because Dusty, you're going, as an aide, I might only have a shift once a week. I might have 10 or 15 hours, right? Possibly. What about 29 hours a week? If you could guarantee this young aide that's excited, good personality. Looks like she's got a little bit of work ethic, but you're like, I'm not sure. You send her to the workforce center and have her apply for a paid internship. Okay. They approve her. She goes through some process. They send her back to you. And now you get to decide still if you want to bring her on. But they're the Mesa County employee. They don't work for you. I mean, they work at, you're like a host. Okay. And then you get to try this young lady on for the next 2.5, 3 months. And then you decide whether you're going to hire her or not. It doesn't hit your payroll, so it saves money. That's a huge win. And then it gives you, I mean, you know in a couple of weeks, but in 3 months, you know whether this person is going to be hireable or not. And I've probably hired 70% of my paid interns, because 30% just doesn't matter what I do, what my staff do, training wise, they're just not picking up and running, with the tasks and responsibilities we need from them. So they get that experience, and hopefully it enriches their skills and life. And maybe it's their first job they've ever had. Some of them are that green, but not all of them are, I had a human resources intern one time, and they helped with hiring. They focused on my marketing. They focused on interviews. I had them start doing some interviews with me a little bit. But I had them focus on staffing. I had them work on my staff schedule, on our staff handbook. So we can do things besides aides and teachers from that working interview. And it may not be someone that you would hire on full time. My little secret behind that is that they didn't look like they would be someone I could hire full time. I was open with them at the beginning. And then 2/3 of the way through the internship, I started mentoring even more and sending them out on job interviews. I don't know if I should say that, but I mean, when I was working with Rose and the other gals I was very transparent with them, and they were like, you're kind of doing our job, Kirk. And I mean, they were all successful. They all went on to find great stuff. And I hired a landscaper and hired all kinds of people from them. So it was really a great partnership. But ultimately, you want to find people that can stick, because you are going to be investing your time and your staff's time in them. So TEED and ECT, TEED, a lead and an aid. Yeah, that. Okay, sorry. I'm looking for people talking, but I'm just going to keep rambling. So thank you, Judy. Do you have any questions for Dusty or?
No, I haven't never done this before, so this will be something new. I need to do some research on and how to do that. But Dusty, I'd be happy to help in any way I can. We have, a couple other girls here that are so knowledgeable about what we can do here too. So let me do some research, and definitely, Dusty, let's get together and see what we can do to help you.
I'd like to join in that loop as well. Prior to COVID, I had a lot of interns come through from Workforce Center, and the last time I contacted, the program wasn't available. So I would love to get back involved with it as well. And this is Lori over at Futures.
I'm trying to find, and I don't have one, and I should have one open right now. I know that Rose Cretchum? Is she there, Judy, at the Workforce Center?
I'm sorry, what was the name again?
Rose Cretchum?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so she was a very much a big part of that program, and it may have been reassigned. There may have been some reorganization, but you're going to find, and I'm just drawing a blank. There's a couple different departments there. There's a youth internship, which is from like 18 to 26. And then there's an adult internship opportunity from 18 and up. I had a 55, let's say, year-old intern, a gentleman, come and do marketing for me. And he just used me to get through a 3-4 week period. And then he got his dream job here in Mesa County. So it was a great fit. So, but WIOA funds are funding the youth program. So yeah, once you ask around, you'll get to the right spot, and feel free to circle back and with me. So yeah. Okay. Anything else on that? Anyone?
Shonda Seitz is another contact that I had with my last intern about 2 months ago.
You say her name one more time?
Shonda Seitz.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name. Great.
Yeah, and hold on, I'll tell you her email or sides.
Can someone type that in the chat?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you. I'm gonna go back to the sub pool. We know that Maru is no longer available for the sub pool that Stephanie Bivens worked so hard to put in place with us and what have you, but I've always believed in having your own sub pool. And it's a revolving door, but it's a revolving door that it puts teachers back in the classroom, meaning as you have someone leave, you have someone that's been floating in your program that is now ready to grab that spot if you're ready for them. So, I mean, what does it cost to hire someone? Maybe $100 cash, right? Between background checks and a little bit of stuff, but then it takes time, right? And that's where you plug them in, plug them into the classroom, plug them in as an aide here and there, plug them in with some of your good staff, give some of your good staff a third for a little bit so they have some step out planning time. And I know that can be expensive, but I really believe that you got to have 2 or 3 others just looking and ready to work. And I just tell them, listen, if you will roll out of bed at 7, if you will shower and do this or whatever you're going to do, and you're ready to answer your phone and leave the house at 7:30, if you do that 5 days a week, we are going to call you. And if you show up and you give us 100% and you're having fun and you're learning, then those opportunities within our program are going to grow. So that's what I tell my subs. Don't just, be ready every day to pick up the phone, because Dusty, would you call someone this morning if you had somebody that was ready to work an 8-hour day? You got it. So you just got to line them up on the sidelines. And right now you just got to line them up in the classrooms, right? Yeah. But just don't stop hiring. Just always have a couple more than you think you need. And then that administrative assistant, someone that will go into the classroom and that can do some of your work. But you don't have time to train them, right? We've already squashed that. You can screen recording free software just to do general stuff, filing stuff. But find a teacher that can do that. This gal that I hired out as administrative assistant, I didn't want to pull her out of the classroom. I was like, you know how that is? Like you have a good lead. You're like, oh, she'd be good, but I don't want her out of the classroom because that classroom's going to fold without her, right? And so I literally hired 3 brand new staff to run that classroom. And I got a little fortunate, but I think they all came from Indeed. One came from Michigan, one came from Anchorage, and one came from the Front Range. They literally all 3 moved in town. If you have a classroom that's been a mess, maybe clean house. I've never done it intentionally. I've wanted to, you've wanted to, but this just kind of happened. Like 2 of those gals went on to teach at the district, and the 3rd one I pulled to administrative assistant. She was my really good people person and smart. Put 3 new gals in there, and that classroom is running great. And it's more luck than anything, I think. But yeah, that's hard when you have really good teachers. You're like, oh, I could use you out of the classroom, but you can't. You just got to keep trying to. That's why I say keep putting your ads out there. Keep trying to find that next great teacher, because if you find her, just stick her in someplace, and then you can pull someone out to do some short work for you. Okay, staffing. That seems like that's the topic. We got a few minutes left. I really don't want to jump off of that topic. Does anybody have anything else?
Well, now I feel like I'm just going to be the problem child, because here I am talking again. But I think so. Just from like previous conversations that we've had and like things that I've seen and that kind of thing, like I guess it's always kind of amazed me how want to say maybe like strict you are like with your staff and that they respond to that. Every time that I've tried to crack down on staff, I have lost like so many people. And so like, I guess like, I'm just kind of curious as to like how you set that expectation from the beginning of like, this is what is going to be like expected with, and like not intimidate people to where like they don't stay, if that, does that make sense?
Yeah. Can you give me one or two, like you said, how you set the expectations, like what expectation? Can you give me one or two examples?
Like attendance, you know, like, or for
Yeah.
calling in,
Yeah.
or like even lesson planning, that kind of thing. I feel like every time I try to step up quality in the building, you know, like getting ready for rating or that kind of thing, I just lose people because they don't want to take that extra step of stepping up their game when I'm trying to step up our game. And it's
Yep.
caused a lot of issues.
Well, I happen to have a nice diagram for you. Oh, let's see. Okay, there we go. So this was a conversation that Kim and I had. This is me. Administration, I'm 100% in. I get that. I'm good at that. Classroom, I'm doing this backwards to the camera. This is horrible. I put myself at 30%. Like, you don't want to hire me to be your director. No, because I understand the classroom. I understand planning. I understand curriculum a little bit more than I might say, but so setting expectations for planning and that kind of stuff, I'm not your guy. I'm not good at that. And it'll be 18 years in February that Kim and I've been doing this. And I'm still trying to convince her of that. Like, you cannot look to me to make that accountability in the classroom great. The administration stuff, I'm better. But I'm a softie. I really am. Like, I'm good at setting those expectations, but I'm also a people person. So when they have hardship, I'm like, okay, we got you. I think that, I mean, you're so right. That is such a great topic. I think that by just being a people person and hiring the right people and then caring for them, but okay, yeah, it is that balance. It's that balance, right? They know that they are loved like family, but also sometimes family need to get put in the corner. Sometimes family needs to be put on suspension. And so it is that balance. You got to figure out what you're good at though, right? Like, I'm good at some stuff and not at other staff. Unfortunately, I do have staff, someone with me. Most of those that are with me are very good, but younger staff that feel that intimidation factor. Maybe it's a little bit like that they have that kind of like father figure, like, I don't want to get in trouble from dad type thing. I won't tell you how old I am, but on Monday, I'm going to blow out 48 candles. So I do qualify as a parent figure to a lot of the age of the staff that we have. So that works for me and it works against me, right? It works for me that they don't want to disappoint and they kind of just, oh, I'm just going to do my job. But sometimes it doesn't because they don't want to come and talk to me. So I make sure I have other softies around that they can come and share to. It's balanced. Dusty, I don't know that I'm doing that question justice. But so you figure out a few places that you're willing to stand your ground, right? You figure out what that is. You give them the tools and make it very easy for them to be able, for example, to cover their shift. Okay, that sub pool on that staff schedule, if they have access to everybody's phone number, did you text and did you call the first 5 people on the list? Well, no. Do it. Call me back in 15. I'm giving them the tools to be successful. They're going to show me whether they're willing or not. Well, I don't feel well. I understand. But you're talking to me right now. I want you to turn around and talk to the 5 people that you need to check on your sub list, you know, to see if they will step up for you. So, I mean, that's always been a big part of my focus is, do my staff have the tools to be successful, whether they're admin or a teacher, to successfully cover their shift, to successfully know who they're going to work with. That's why programs that I've heard programs where they text their staff the night before what their schedule is the next day. And I'm going, what? Because that program's never going to hold on to their staff. Their staff are only going to tolerate that for so long, right? So if you have your act together and have a good system, I think the staff also will gain some respect and admiration for that as well, right? Again, you give them the tools to succeed. They can see that schedule up 6-8 weeks. It doesn't matter if it's on Crew or if it's on a Google sheet. If they can plan their life beyond, you know, beyond tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., that's you giving them a tool to be successful. Give them access to their coworkers to be able to cover their shift if they're not feeling well, you know, because if you're the only one that has that information, of course they're going to come to you. And that's why you're trying to cover shifts at 8-9 o'clock at night. Give them those tools to be successful. So, yeah.
I think, Kirk, what you're kind of stepping on is that what you're saying with that, putting the responsibility on them, does also give some accountability, but it lifts them up too, because then it's, oh, I have responsibilities to this, and there's some ownership that happens. And I do think you're right of trying to find your style with that. It does take time, and in kind of, Dusty, some conversations that we've had and thinking about like that relationship based of flipping questions back to your employee can help for them to think, you know, it's the same thing with your love and logic of, I wonder how we're going to solve that problem together. What do you think you can do? Same as what we do with kiddos, having that ownership in them solving their problem. And you're right there to support them very positively. But I do think that it's important to, it's not for just you to solve. If it always falls on your plate, you're going to break your plate. And I know that's the pot calling the kettle black. But at the same time, of the more that you can shift and let others own things, the more that you guys are going to start developing some of that team leadership, and being okay with letting go of some of the control with that, of what Kirk's kind of talking about, and pushing it back on your staff. Because again, you guys are a team. If you get dings with licensing, if you get really high quality, it's not just one person, it's everybody working together correctly or incorrectly or whatever that looks like. It takes everybody. And so I think that Kirk makes a good point of putting those responsibilities back on your staff, for them to be able to, and allow them to have responsibility, can really change some atmosphere.
Thank you for chiming in. That was a piece that I was missing. And I had a conversation with Miss Stephanie on my screen. She's bottom right, she's hiding, that's cool. And she told me that she has one of her staff that is in charge of her toddler side of her building or program, and one staff in charge of her preschool. So again, empowering your staff. And Stephanie was exactly right. Once you give them power, them ownership, right? It's not my classroom, it's your classroom. It's not my Todd program, it's your Todd program. And maybe you find someone to lead different parts of your program and give them a 30, 60, 90-day chance to show good leadership, right? And maybe Stephanie, quick before we get off, will chime in on this, but giving them that power, problem solving with them, asking them, well, what do you think we should do about that, right? Again, that comes back to the working interview. Well, you know, they have buy-in, they have decision-making, they have action ability power. Stephanie, do you have anything you want to throw in? When you were telling me about how you put someone in charge of your Todds, and like if someone calls off, they problem solve that. Someone in charge of preschool, I thought that was great. Someone calls off, close on that? Someone in charge of preschool, I thought that was great. Am I close on that?
Yeah. So I took my 2 buildings, 4 or 5 months ago. I have my preschool side, my toddler side. I made up what we call the pod lead over both of those areas. It is up to them to talk with their directives, if you will, underneath them. And they talk to them about, things that are wrong, things that are doing great, things that aren't on schedule, things that they've kept on schedule. It's up to them. I've had one of my leads, actually my toddler pod, she's kind of bounced around covering because one of her directives kind of went out. So we were able to kind of work that out and shift them. Staffing is still something that comes to Tanya and myself. They're trying to figure it out. One of my pod leads is better than the other one at figuring out how to shift and get that covered. We've tried, and Kirk, you're amazing at it, to get those subs. We'll get all these people that say, yep, we want to do it. But when push comes to shove, we get nothing back from them to get on that list because, oh, we found a job, or I need more hours than just being on call. So we don't have a ginormous sub pool, but we do have quite a few part-time employees that do want some extra hours that we're able to shift and move when needed. So that's been awesome. I'm with Steph, in giving them back. We use Crew. That's our main form of communication to our staff. We have a channel on Crew that is subbing, and they use that for their subbing purposes. Thank you. Sorry, I'm at the bank. And so we use that for, subbing and assistance when they need it. And contact, so they can reach out to somebody if they need it and to get some assistance and help. I also, and Kirk, you kind of hit on this. I put a lot of respect into my staff, and I tell them, if you respect me, I'll respect you. The things I want from you is you will be on time. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. They know that from day one. And I let them slide about 2, maybe 3 times. And honestly, I'll write them up. I don't play. I don't do it. And they know that. And I'm pretty firm and strict about it. And I use the example, this is not a Walmart, this is not a Target where you have to go stock a shelf and put an item on a shelf. These are children where we have to cover numbers and we have to cover them. And they need our full undivided attention. I call you in when I need you, not when I don't. And they're, for the most part, I have waves where they respect it. And then I kind of rear my head and say, okay, this is a blanketed, I'm going to throw it out there. Y'all better get on time or else. And then I get, the reform, and they go back to being on time again. And then I'll have another wave down the road and we kind of go back and forth. So Dusty, for you, I throw my expectations out. I am a follow through person. I'm not black and white, but I'm pretty black and white. Here's my expectations. This is what I expect to be followed. And here's the consequences for not following. Exactly how I teach my kids. They have the same set of parameters. Here's what I need. Here's what I expect, and here's the consequences for not performing, whatever that is. Having the 2 different pod leads has been really great. It's definitely been a new concept and a new challenge. And like I said, I've got one lead that's done very, very well. I have another one that still is struggling on certain things and certain aspects of how to completely lead that. But she's getting it. She's definitely getting it and understanding more. So, but I think respect is a huge way to, if you want your staff to perform for you, you have to have respect. We all have issues in life and we all have our battles we're encountering. The worst part of, I think, my center this year has been death between, me personally and some other employees. We are up to 10 deaths across my center this year. And so with that is the struggle, and that's been rough. That's been a pretty rough turn of events to have that many. But we're all chipping in and helping each other and trying to cover, you know, when somebody's leaving for funerals. Luckily, a lot of them have been local, but there have been some that have not. So we're just pitching in, but that's where the respect of, from me, understanding their personal life within margins. I mean, I still have a business to run and I still have classrooms to cover, but respecting their personal life of what they need to take care of too. The more I respect them, the more I've gotten back from them, I guess. So I don't know if that helps.
Oh yeah, that was well said. Well said. Oh yeah. And I'm hearing a couple of things that you're saying, like, I'm hearing you're really good at follow through. And I immediately I hear things that I'm not good at, like I'm not great at follow through. And so I go back to you, Dusty, and say, hire to your weaknesses, right? You know what you're strong and you're good at. Figure out how to capture that. Figure out how to capture that. Echo in my ear now. I'm not sure why that's echo in my ear now. I'm not sure why that.
So, well, and the other thing sorry, Kurt, I'll cut you off for a second.
No, it's good.
Tanya, who's also on here, and she can talk to it, is we are, in a lot of ways, we're good cop, bad cop. She is she's the good cop. She's that people person. She's the face of conversation. She meets and greets parents as they come and go. She's friendly with staff. Me, honestly, I don't really care to see my clients. Hi, if I see you, goodbye if I don't. I got things to do, you know. I've gotten past that point, I guess, in where I am in my business. And Tanya's the face of it. She talks, she does it. Where Tanya is not as strong as I am, she's not the follow through. She will talk and talk and talk, but she won't push the apple until it has to be pushed. You know, and that's hard for her, but it's not for me. So I have that good cop, bad cop, you know, where we definitely have our highs and lows in my building.
As I say, you nailed that on the head. Like that's kind of the way we roll.
Yeah, your program needs to be able to do everything, but you don't have to do it all yourself. You just gotta, that's why I say you hire to your weakness. You know, if you're good at organization, you hire someone that's good at being creative. If you're good at being a stickler on policy and follow through, great. You hire someone that will be available to hug and love and listen and be that face. What so many owner directors do is they try to be able to do everything, because you can. Now, you can't do everything great, but you can do everything. And then you're just like, well, let's see how many years I can do everything. And that's that's where they crumble. That's where they crumble.
And that's where burnout happens.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, for me personally, I've been doing this a long time. Without having Tanya, she's been in this position now for over 8 years, sitting in the chair next to me. And had she not gotten that chair and she not be where she was, I probably wouldn't do this. You cannot run it all. You have to give and dictate assignments, or else you're going to burn yourself out. You have to.
Yep.
I was gonna say, I think you kind of learned that more yourself this year too, right, Steph? I mean, you learned to give up some of the stuff because it was too much. Like even just like outsourcing our payroll finally after forever of you doing it. It's helped doing it.
Yeah, I did.
It's helped.
I did. I finally got it through my head that I needed to delegate more than I had to stop driving myself crazy, payroll being one of them. I've done payroll the entire time I've been a director, which was 2007 is when I became a director, till present. And I finally outsourced this year. So.
There's hope in outsourcing. And if it comes down to where you just go, I just can't afford to hire the people that I need to have, then we just have to dig our heels in and figure out how to be more profitable. And there's so many ways that we can do that. And my goal and hope, because I'm very much where Stephanie is. I've been there for a long time, is how do I support my center and my staff? And I can support them oftentimes better not being there or being a drop-in, because there's so many other things that I can do. As Steph described for her, she's focusing on other things that can really come back and support our staff in other ways. So if it's a matter of getting your programs profitable, getting them full, getting them better organized, getting better communication, all that kind of stuff, love to continue to dive in with you, Dusty, on that. And you said, sorry for being the problem child. Love the fact that you kept chiming in throughout, because you kept the conversation going. Because everybody that is not here on this call in Mason County, not everybody, there might be a couple exceptions. Most of them are not here because they're so overwhelmed, they can't break the time. They're rocking babies. They're covering classrooms. They're you, but they can't even get to you because they're even more busy and more overwhelmed. So they're going to watch it tonight at 7 o'clock or whenever it gets uploaded. So thanks, Dusty, for throwing all those issues out there that we all have. So, all right, everybody. What else?
And the
Anybody
other
have
thing,
any last
Dusty-
points? All right, everybody. What else? Anybody have any last points? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Dusty, if you need help, give me a call. I'll help you. Been around a long time. Going electronic, it was a feat, but it was one of the best things ever. And like Kirk said, I've stepped out. I've really kind of stepped out. It's Tanya's show. She's running the day-to-day stuff. I pop myself in every once in a while, but I think my staff wants me to go away more than I pop in.
That's a good feeling, isn't it?
They don't want to hear what I say. But my time away,
Feeling, isn't it?
it is, and it's some new stuff I've been able to dive to because I've delegated off enough, between breaking apart my pods to help Tanya, to,
I don't know if it's just me, but there is some hesitation in there.
I've got another director in house that works for me, on top of Tanya. So I've been able to walk away. Could be, I don't know. I'm on myself. Dusty, holla. I can help you. I got some experience behind there.
All right. I think that's a signal that we got to wrap it up. So thanks, everybody. I think we covered some good stuff. We got definitely the biggest item on the agenda. At least we're starting to open the box and crack it. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Have a marvelous day.